It is 10 o'clock Pacific time, and I hope you guys, well, you guys who are here know about daylight savings change. I hope the other ones who may not realize it have gotten a notification that we are starting our live broadcast. And let me check one thing here, Jared. Does that look like I'm a little out of sync here? Let me just. Yeah, that
Uh,
should be all
Looks
right.
okay on my
Oh,
end.
no, that has to be off. There we go. I think we should be okay better. Should be better there. Okay, good to see you guys, Yvette and Pratham. Thank you for joining us again for a critique show. We love doing this. I love helping you guys out and seeing your work. And we have a couple of announcements, but let's just do the beginning here. How about that? Okay, so for those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Marc Silber, an author, photographer in Carmel, California. And our show today is brought to you by our good friends at Bay Photo Lab. Now, listen, you guys have heard me say this, and I just finished a course where I talk about it. It's so important to print your work. It's so important. And the whole basis of photography is prints. I mean, that's where it all came from, not digital. Okay, so Bayphoto will help you do that. They give you great customer service, and they provide a variety of different ways to make prints. And you can see they have sales on wood prints. I've never actually made one of these, but they look pretty cool. Acrylic prints are cool. I have actually made those. I'm going to probably make some new ones. You get 20% off on those. There's the code in there. And 15% off on metal plates. I do have a few of those, and they are also really cool. You can hang them on a wall without any framing. It just kind of floats off the wall, which is a pretty neat look. There's a lot of different sizes and such. There's many other things you can get printed by Bay Photo as well, and you'll get 25% off on your first order. So take my advice. This is the most crucial and key point of sharing your work is make a print, show it on the wall. It's the basis of photography, and it's super important. All right, well, I always begin with a story, and I'm going to begin with this story here. If you have read, how many people out there have read this book? I'm curious. Create.
We're not on your screen if you think, or oh, yes we are. Sorry,
There we are.
I was looking at the wrong stream.
I'm looking at me. I'm curious if you've read this book. Well, in this book, I tell a story about how when I was in high school, I was really ready to drop out. It's a longer story than I could tell you right now, but I was just fed up with high school. I'd gone to the short version is I'd gone to a prep school in New England. Great education. I was a junior in high school, and I came back to California, and basically they tried to repeat everything that I'd already done as a junior in my senior year, and I was bored out of my mind. If you've ever raised teenagers, you know the worst thing is to have bored teenagers. I mean, that's true for anybody, but don't have a bored teenager around. They're gonna do something that you won't like. And I tried to drop out of high school. My parents just freaked out. They did not like that. They were highly educated, and they just couldn't stand the thought of a high school dropout. So I managed to engineer a plan to go to Mexico my last semester of high school and work on a very cool project up in the upper reaches of Sinaloa, Mexico, which is where Mazatlan is. If you look on the map, you can see it. It was a day drive by Jeep, very rugged drive, by the way. And it was 2 days from there by foot. So you can see how far removed that was. And I left with this camera that my uncle Sambo had given me, the Rolleiflex, with dozens and dozens of rolls of black and white film. Well, when we returned back to this initial village where you could drive called Ojoa, Mexico, I borrowed the guy who was running the project named David, I borrowed his camera, which was a Nikon F. He had a really cool setup. Nikon F was the classic of that time period. And I think I had one roll of Ektachrome. And I went around the village and I shot a number of photographs, including this one right here. This is a blue door of a church in this little village called Ahoya. Ektachrome has a kind of a bluish sort of tint to it. You can see on this upper left-hand corner, I actually left the edge of the frame there, and you can see when I scanned it, kind of you get this bluishness where I had to actually, it captured that blue door incredibly well, but it did leave a bit of a blue cast over the whole thing. But I left it because that's what the film does. Now the thing about this is there's a big story you should read and create. It kind of has a whole point, which is the only way I ended up getting out of that trap called high school was to come up with a higher purpose. And the higher purpose was to go to Mexico and build this medical dispensary to help this the community in this very, very remote region who had absolutely no medical care whatsoever. And, you know, it was because I rose to a higher level that I was able to get out of this lower, what I consider a lower level, boring trap. But I wasn't going to get there by doing this, you know, by dropping out. I wasn't going to get there. I was only going to get there by masterminding this plan. And I came back with dozens and dozens of photographs, which I still consider my best, some of my best. And this one is interesting because it also exemplifies color as a composition element. I mean, I was 17 years old, you guys. I hadn't gone to art school. I hadn't done anything. I was self-taught. But anyway, this is an example of color as a composition tool because it can serve as the main body of your composition, in which, you know, this one does. Now, would it have been cool to have maybe a head poking through there? Yeah, it would have. Would have added something else, but, you know, whatever. This is what I got. I invite you to read the rest of the story in this book, Create. And if you don't own this, there is an opportunity. You should grab it. We're actually running a special on this book, Advancing Your Photography. This is the brand new edition. Just went through the whole thing. It's 2021 edition. There's actually even a new cover to it. And you can get it with just paying for the shipping and handling. And we can deliver it to you anywhere in the world. So there is an offer for that. And you can also check a box and get this book and my composition book along with it. And look, I'm the author, but these are good books, and they span a lot of knowledge, not just what I've learned, but so many of the people I've interviewed over the years, very, very talented people, very smart people who you can get a lot of advice from. People like Chris Burkhardt, who's a phenomenal photographer, and Nancy Cartwright, if you're a Simpson fan, she's the voice of Bart Simpson, and I think 9 or 10 other voices on there. Just hilarious. But each of them had to overcome certain things to break through and become as creative as they were. It was not automatic at all. And that's helpful for us all to remember that. You know, because we're sometimes dealing with our own struggles and think, oh, I'm not sure if I'm ever going to make my goals. I don't know. This is so hard. Nobody else has to go through this but me. And that's not true. It's good to be reminded of that. And it's also good to hear how they managed to break through. Okay. There you have it. The Blue Door story. That's on my Instagram. If you're not following me, please do so. There's my handle. I'd love to see you there. I'm going to be really adding a lot more content over the next, bit here. I'm going to try to give you guys behind the scenes video stuff whenever we do a shoot. I'll tell you stories about my photographs and just kind of keep the conversation going, between our YouTube and that sort of thing. All right. So thanks for new people joining us, Kevin, Divya, and who else is Yvette? Ellen, good to see you guys here with us. So let's dive in, Jared, with our first critique. Let's see who we've got here.
Yeah. All right.
I'll
We've got.
open the screen.
All right. We've got. This is a photo from Saba. Window reflections on a building in Sweden.
That's really cool. It's it's a design. And photography, Henri Cartier-Bresson said that he uses the camera as like a sketch pad. I really like that concept. For him, it's a sketch pad. By the way, Cartier-Bresson, you may not know this, but he more or less retired as a photographer and went back to painting and drawing. I think mainly drawing. To finish his career there, and I know a number of photographers who've done that. Dick Zimmerman, who's an amazing celebrity photographer, had a huge catalog of celebrities and rock, photography. Basically did the same thing. He sold his studio and retired and took up portraiture painting. For whatever reason, these guys moved into that because I think it was a real challenge for them. Anyway, this is a cool image, and it's got a lot of design elements in it. What are we looking at here? I'm just curious how those lights must be. Yeah, what is that?
I think it's from a building that's across
It must
the
be,
way,
right?
I'm guessing. Because he says it's reflections from windows. So
it's very cool. You just were walking along, and bam, there it was. And
or I wonder, I bet this is night, so I bet that's light maybe coming from windows, but it's pretty focused, so it's got to be reflections.
Because you can see the windows, and there's no light coming through them. That's what's really interesting.
Right, because there's none coming through here, so it has to be from another building.
Those appear to all be reflections. So, if you're in the chat, just let us know. But that's very cool. Excellent, design. And black and white works really well. Good one. Okay. Who's next?
All right. This one is from Jaya Krishna and no caption with it.
So it's a village in India, it looks like, right? And we've got some kind of vegetable, potatoes, looks like, maybe, piles there, and these guys.
Let's see if I can zoom in a bit.
Yeah, these
it's
guys.
Almost like a coconut-like sort of thing.
Oh, yeah, okay. So I like the image. My first thought is I'm not clear who the subject is, the primary subject. And because you kind of got three different points of focus here. These three guys, that guy, and that guy. And they're not quite all in sync. So the way... we're seeing it, but there's something missing in terms of the decisive moment of this. And decisive moment is, you wait for the action. You feel it. Jared will laugh because we've been editing this course of mine. Mm-hmm. I talk about this. You smell it. Bob Holmes said you can smell a photograph, but a lot of times the scene is set and you're just waiting for that moment. Like, let's say the guy who to me would be the main subject here, standing in the doorway, all of a sudden points or gestures. Yeah, I'm waiting for something, and that would be the most logical thing. Or perhaps even the guy, on the other side of the door, the other guy there gestures. But I would think our main subject is this guy framed in the door, and some kind of gesture that you go, that's where my eye goes. Boom. So this to me is just be patient, Sometimes we smell a photograph, but it doesn't happen right away. Just be patient, keep firing your, shutter, and then all of a sudden you go, wow, there it is. That's the story. Boom. It all comes together. Okay? Otherwise, you've got everything, all your other elements are there. You've got texture in the roof. You've got color. You've got this interesting balance of the two, which forms balance, which is a compositional tool right there. The guys in the middle are sort of the middle of this balance. There is actually a composition tool called balance scale composition, where it looks like kind of you've got two objects on either side, and you've got grouping in the middle, which makes for a nice balanced photo. So just look for that decisive moment or gesture. Okay. Thanks for you new guys joining us. Lucas, 1, 2, and Robbo60. Okay.
I think that's Robin.
Oh, Robin. Okay. Hey, Robin. Thanks, guys.
All right. Speaking of Lucas, let's bring or this might be a different. Nope, it's same Lucas.
Okay. Let's see what you
So
got.
this is Lucas's image.
I'm not drinking
and
alcohol here. I'm drinking kombucha, by the way. So, just so you know.
So this one's angle views taken in London.
Oh, that's cool. Hey, you know what's funny about that? Wow. I get it. You took it from a double-decker bus. I have a photograph that I put in the course from a double-decker bus of umbrellas in a rainy day. So I recognize it instantly. Very cool. And you got the reflection on the glass there. And, this is a design photo of kind of what's going on now. What is happening in this scene? Are we looking at a medic, a paramedic? I can't. Kind of.
It's hard to tell, or it's almost like it's film equipment. It's
something going on there, and I'm not quite sure what it is.
You should let us know since if you know.
My immediate
Angel.
thought is
It's Angel. So I'm guessing it is medical then.
No, it's a medic. It's a paramedic situation.
Yeah. So the caption was Angel, not Angle.
Ah.
So it's Angel View.
Got it. So
and they're loading somebody up. I see it now.
Yeah.
That's their feet.
Okay. So yeah, this is actually a story about this paramedic situation. I really like what you've set up here. Again, I would love to see a more decisive moment here. And you probably didn't have much opportunity because you're traveling on a bus and you're moving past this. But perhaps there was another frame. You'd have to just, in this situation where you're moving past something really quickly, you really pretty much have to fire the shutter and then, pick it. Like that paramedic, say, looking over at that person or with his hand, like he's digging into the bag, which is okay, but I feel like I would smell the photograph like something more decisive could be happening there. Because you've got the scene set. Something's going on here. He is an angel. It would be more clear if we saw him like reaching over to the person or doing something. But bravo for catching that moment from the double-decker bus. It tells that story. Yes, paramedics. Good job, Lucas. Yeah, not Angle, Angel. Right on. And that is good. And thank you for highlighting this angel who came to the rescue of whatever happened here. All right.
This one is from Paratham in India. Says this first time submitting photographs for review. Says I prefer to shoot street and other times I shoot nature. And all the images that he submitted, so I picked one, were ones that were taken when traveling in a car.
Aha. So you're driving by this guy. Presumably, we don't know which direction you're going in. It doesn't really matter. Okay, good. So you've done a good job with your composition elements. You've got these leading lines, leading from left to right. The bicycle's going left to right, so everything's kind of going in that direction. And I like the use of the slow shutter speed to accent the motion here. and it's very clean. There's not, you know, there's not a lot of different competing elements. You also have, you know, you have some layers there. So you have him on the bike as a kind of our foreground layer. Not very far behind him is this fence thing, and then way in the distance is that background layer. It works really well in black and white. Definitely helps, you know, tell that story. This to me is that sketch pad, you know, Cartier-Bresson of you. You're out capturing life, and this is your sketch pad of that event. So it works really well. The other good thing, and it's always good to remember, if somebody is looking a certain way or they're traveling a certain way, leave room in the frame for them to move in that direction, which you did. Okay. And that was very good on your framing to go, okay, I want this guy to move. He's moving in that direction, so let's leave a lot of space. If you don't do that, it feels a little claustrophobic, like you haven't let that subject do what they're going to do. That's a really good point, because when you're photographing somebody looking in a certain direction, leave space in the frame for them to look out, or in this case, the guy riding his bicycle. So good job. You were still for this one. Okay, so the car, you're photographing from a car, but it wasn't moving. Good.
Which is still good, because that limits you when you're in that kind of a situation, because you can't move as easily.
Yes, that's right.
So,
good one.
All right. Here's one. Our friend Wayne. He decided for St. Patrick's Day to do some product shooting.
It is a product shot for Guinness.
So taken in studio with main strobe camera left, and with a softbox. And then a fill above right with a green gel.
You know, it's effective product shot. You've got the green for Patty's Day, which works, and we can see that it's Guinness with the harp and of course the mug. And you know, you've got an interesting product shot. So good job. It's very clean. There's nothing in the background that's going to interfere with just seeing the subject. And the little table kind of looks old, and you know, something. Guinness has been around since how long? I mean,
long time.
You know, centuries. And of course, a lot of it is consumed in Ireland and Scotland, in the UK. And I've had my share of it there. It's hearty. Anyway, good job.
My question would be, how many tries did it take before you got this the way you wanted it?
You got your
because it's not easy to get the foam right up there and keep it that way. So
good point. Yes, without it spilling over, you got it right to the top. Yeah, that's a good point.
Before it fizzes out. So
yeah,
I'd be curious to hear more about that.
Yeah.
Anyways, on the St. Patrick's Day theme, Rami Miller made it out and got some photos as well.
A lot of green going on here. And this is a green dog, a dog with a green jacket on, and lots of people petting this dog. Yeah, I mean, look, we've got Guinness on the right here too. Another Guinness. So Rami, I forget, you're in San Francisco, right? Are these no masks? So I don't know if this was taken last year or in San Francisco you'd still have to be wearing masks. I'm just curious about that. 1759, that's the official date. Okay, cool. That's when Guinness was first arrived. That's funny, 1759. Okay. Anyway, so I like it. I'm hungry for decisive moment. I don't want to sound repetitious, but something, it's almost there. And I feel like the dog is more like the focal, you know, what we want to be focusing on. I mean, there's the girls petting the dog, but we need a central subject to draw, you know, to make that just pop. So I don't know, maybe the dog turns around or something, or, you know, there's something more decisive where it all kind of comes together. That's just what I see. And, take it or leave it. I'm only going to give you guys my impression and try to explain what I see. The rest is up to you. You may not agree with me. That's fine. You don't have to agree with me. And that's really important whenever anybody is giving you a critique. Take it or leave it. That's true whenever we put our art out there. It's like, you're going to get different impressions, and it's up to you to decide whether you agree with them or not. All right, who's next?
Going back quick, Saba made it back on.
Oh,
who
yeah.
we looked at his first. Let me pull that up
We'll put this
quick. So he was
on
saying, to answer a question, I took the photo just before sunset, but I actually pulled the lights back a bit in post to emphasize the reflection.
Oh, I see.
So
Okay. Interesting. So you made those windows dark, pulled the lights back a bit to post. Okay. Okay, cool. It
Yeah.
works. Good job.
I mean, you had a vision and you made it happen.
Exactly. You visualize that. That's what it's all about.
And
All right.
Wayne said it took him 2 beers
2 beers. Okay.
to get that one shot. All right.
All right.
So this is from Ron, and no caption with it.
Boy, do I know that feeling. Although I'm not a short boarder, I'm a long boarder, so don't usually get in that position. This guy was making a maneuver on that short board, and you don't really want to be in this position where he is. So he's caught in all this white water here. That's not the place to ride a wave. You want to ride a wave where it's breaking and peeling, meaning there's a smooth kind of glassy surface. So whatever, I don't know. He rode through it. He was trying to make it looks like he was trying to whip that board around and go the other direction. But anyway, you got a decisive moment there. Good job. I mean, that's the moment. He's falling off. We call that a wipeout in surfing. He's getting and he's going to get pounded by that wave there because it's a pretty big wave. You can see it just kind of disappears up there. But he's in what we call the impact zone of the surf. All that foamy water there in the foreground means that that's where the waves are breaking. You don't want to really hang out there because that's you're going to get beat up by the wave. But anyway, this guy probably didn't have much trouble. He would dive under. What you do is you dive back under and just kind of try to get out of this, or you can just ride that white water in. Either way, you can get out of it. But if it's a big wave, that can be pretty uncomfortable. Anyway, I get all those feelings. The falling, you capture that falling beautifully. The guy's feet are apart. You got that moment really well, exemplified in his motions and stuff. Good job.
All right, here's one from new member Johnny. He just joined and just submitted this, so welcome to the AYP club. And no caption with it.
It's interesting. It's a bubble, right? In India?
Yes.
Looks like India. And it's a bubble just floating, and those are hard to catch. I've photographed big bubbles, and the challenge is always where you ran into here, which is there's something behind it that often gets in the way. But you did a good job because you made the background part of the bubble, and all these interesting colors that are kind of reflected from the bubble, but we don't really see it. Like the bubble's taking what's behind it and sort of doing something with it. It's a very interesting photo. And I'm curious if you had some with the person blowing the bubble. Usually it's like on some sort of big object, or I'm bubble making implement. I don't know what you call it. And there's
Yeah, I'm
usually
not sure either.
somebody going like this. That might be interesting too. I'm just curious if you had some other ones, but that cool, good one.
All right.
Uh, so we have a question there. Where do you submit? You go to Jared. Go ahead and just tell them
Oh,
where to submit.
yep. So if you join the AYP club, and I'll put a link in the chat, you can
Sandy's
join the
here.
group. I keep a eye on people coming in, obviously, because Johnny just requested a few minutes ago and posted. So I
Cool.
do keep an eye on it. So it's not too late
Yeah, and
to
hang
submit
out
your
in
photo.
there. Remember to hang out in the AYP club, and you guys can like get critiques from each other. That was kind of the point of that group. And you know, this is my opportunity to kind of critique the AYP club. So rather than me going in and individually writing stuff, this is where we're doing the AYP club critiquing is in this show. So I'd love to see you guys hang out there and get help from each other too. You can ask each other questions and challenges. You can put a photograph in there maybe you're not sure about, or you just want some feedback. This is a great resource for you. Love to
Yeah.
see you take advantage of it. It's totally free. There's no charge for that at all. By the way, I will say this. Just here's the deal. There is no charge for this stuff, right? YouTube, AYP Club. So one way you can help me help you, honestly, is to take advantage of this offer. And it really does help. It helps me because I'm first of all getting this out to you, but it helps in a lot of ways. And if you already have a copy of the book, tell your friends to get it. It's a good book, right? That's one way that, you can help contribute to what we're doing here and giving away for free. Okay, just a little ad there. Okay, who's next?
All right. We've got. Let's do some nature shots. We've
There's a
got this
question
one.
from Pratham. We only do one generally speaking,
Yeah,
one photo at a time, just because there's so many people we just want to keep things.
and we have a bit of a backlog because we took a week off.
Yeah.
And so there were unfortunately a lot of photos we couldn't get to last week, such as this one from Robin. But I keep it in the rotation.
Okay.
So you don't need to send new ones. We'll take another one of them next week. So sometimes we do multiple if it's like really important to the context of the photo, but generally we try to do one per person. So this one here is from Robin in the Rocky Mountains. Junipers scattered the hillside on one of my favorite nearby hikes.
I see that junipers. I was kind of wondering what they were. Okay. I know this terrain, and what I love about it is just it going back to the Cartier-Bresson sketch pad. I feel like it's a sketch pad. This could be a painting, right? It has a very painting-like feel to it, and I love the tones as the blue sky just disappears almost into black against the white cloud. A lot of contrast there, which is cool. And it's a painting essentially. Photography means writing with light, and you are writing with light there. It's an interesting design. Now, this is okay contrasted to like the decisive moment. There isn't any decisive moment here per se. I mean, the clouds sort of their position in the frame is a kind of a decisive moment. But this is just this is another aspect of photography. It doesn't always have, like that blue door of mine didn't have a decisive moment, but there's a design element. There's that sketch pad. I'm showing you something beautiful that I saw. That's another aspect of photography. So they don't all go together. It isn't like there's one bin. This is the way a photograph has to look. Just want to make that clear. So this is your sketchpad photo, and I think it works really well.
All right. And then we're moving over to our friend Jeremy. This is another photo from his current trip that he is taking to Yosemite.
In Yosemite, you're currently in Yosemite. Okay, it looks like you might be doing a little
Zoom in a
cross
little
country
bit.
skiing, I would imagine, or snowshoeing. I just came back from the Sierra over by Tahoe doing that cross country skiing. Anyway, this has got an interesting design to it. It's compositionally called L shape, and you can see the L right there with the tree on the right. I guess Jared, you have to. I don't know why I can't
Nope.
show on mine, but
Because it's on my screen.
oh, that's why. Okay. So this is a backward L, but it's still L shaped, and it is a compositional tool, which kind of like, points. It frames it, on that right hand side, and it frames it on the bottom. So that's a good, basically a good use of that L shaped composition. Whether you were thinking it or not, hey, listen, I didn't know about all these compositional tools until I started researching when I wrote the book. I used some, I didn't use others. What it did for me was it labeled them, so I had like a name for them, and I could think with it in terms of, oh, this could really work well in this circumstance. So anyway, you have an L shape which works quite well. Who is
All
next?
right. Next, believe it or not, we have Ralph, same location in
That's amazing.
Yosemite,
El
and
Capitan and the
in Cathedral
Merc-
Beach,
yeah,
Yosemite.
Merced River. I know this very well. El Capitan is just an incredible, iconic rock. If you haven't seen um, Free Solo, directed by Jimmy Chin, the great photographer Jimmy Chin, I recommend you see it. It's about Alex Humboldt, who soloed, meaning no ropes. To climb solo up this is a huge challenge. It's been done a number of times, but with no ropes at all, forget about it. The first guys that went up this thing took something like 4 weeks, and he did it in 3 hours, 3.5 hours or something. I forget the. Anyway, it's a beautiful, iconic rock, and you've got great composition here and the lighting. That's tricky. You didn't have any blown out. Looks like all the detail is there. It's right on the edge, but did not get blown out. And it's a beautiful black and white portrait. And I really do believe that we take portraits of non-human things, like in this case, the portrait of El Capitan. And this is it's a beautiful portrait. The clouds, the wispy clouds, add this sort of dreamy feeling to it, which I think is really cool, and they give it, these lines, these radiating lines coming out of it. So, good job.
All right. Somebody was just asking about the book if it can go to Europe, and
Yes,
it
it can.
does. We
It
do
does.
ship internationally, and it's especially if you add the other two books on top of it, you're not gonna find a better deal than that.
No, it ends up being about half price of what you would ever get off Amazon when you add the books in there, the other ones, because you get the first one which covers the shipping, and the other two get added on at basically 50% off. So you save about half,
Yep.
and you get all three at once, which is they fit
All
together,
right.
guys.
So this is from Piotr. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. I usually like to try to look ahead of time. But just joined, so welcome to the AOIP Club and one of their first photos they've put up.
It's a very nice photo, and I'm guessing this is a wedding, right? But maybe not. I'm not sure. So this fellow in the center doesn't have a jacket on. The other guys do. That's curious. But I like the way he's backlit with the altar here. The light over the guy on the left is also intriguing. The lighting is really really interesting. And It has a story. It has a question mark, which is Bob Holmes talks about that. Leave a lot of black areas, dark areas that kind of leave you asking questions, you know, and the real question is what's going on here, and that's a really good thing with a photograph. It tells a story, but it also asks the viewer to get involved. You stop for a moment and go, "What is this?" So well done on that.
All right. Here's one. This is from Christoph, and it didn't have a caption with it. Zoom in a little bit.
So Jibo, thank you. I don't want to get all this for free. Well, good. You can help us, like I said, buy one of my books.
Yeah, getting it through that link is one of the best ways to support us.
Definitely helps.
And they were just saying about that last photo that it's part of a narrative series.
Oh,
Would
interesting.
love to see more of those because I want to know more about the story from that previous photo.
Yeah,
So
put that, for sure, make sure you put the whole story. And this is the other thing in AYP Plus, you guys. You got an unlimited number of photos you can post there. So even if we only talk about one of your images and you've got a whole series, be sure to put the whole series up, okay? In AYP Plus, because that'll,
club.
I'm sorry, AYP Club. And that'll give you like lots of other feedback, so which is cool. Okay, so whose is this?
This is Christoph's, and didn't
Christoph.
have a caption with it.
And Christoph, you are the one that gave us the car photo, right? Is that am I wrong? The the
Oh
Formula
no,
One?
that was Spaz.
Okay, sorry. Okay. Anyway, interesting black and white. Again, this follows this point of lots of dark areas, leaves us asking questions. The person on this guy's left, I'm just trying to get what's going on there. They're kind of looking. No, his left.
Here.
Yeah, they're kind of looking at him, maybe with a mask on. Yeah, it's interesting. He's walking along. He's got interesting lighting hitting him. Very dark. Yeah, it works. I would imagine this is part of a series, and it would work as part of that series of photos. Good. Okay. We've got
All
time
right.
for a couple of more. I got to kind of bail out of here a little earlier today. So
Yeah. And once again, if we can't make it to your photo today, I keep them, and we will try to get to it next week. Here's one
cool.
from Divya. She posted two, and she said, "I really like both of these photos, or there's something that she likes about them, but she's not sure if they're
Uh,
good."
I like it.
So
I love the shoes. It's a little story about shoes and how this one interesting way of putting on the shoes kind of crossed over there on the left. It's a design element. Again, this is what I would call the Cartier-Bresson sketch pad. I believe that's what he's talking about. It's like you see something interesting, you see a design or an arrangement, there you have it. Because we've got sort of like a family, I would imagine here, the mom, the dad, the child, and whoever this is on the left. And the squares are also part of that design. So yes, it works. It works as one of those sketchpad photos.
all right. Here's one from Chicagoland Jared. He brought his camera to church the other day, not knowing that he'd have a brief opportunity to get a photo like this. He says that the little girl's gone through some major surgeries and is a walking miracle, but
Wow.
right now all she cares about is that tasty pickle.
Tasty what?
Tasty pickle, because that's what she's
Oh, it is a
sucking
pickle.
on.
I
Yep.
didn't know
And so
children loved pickles. I didn't.
apparently this kid does. And
Okay.
so he got low, saw that there was some decent natural window light above, so he just
Yeah.
tried to make good eye contact with her.
So good job. You You've controlled your depth of field really well, of course, so the background is not intruding. What's interesting, the background colors match what she's wearing. That's pretty cool. And you've got that catch light. You know, we were just in our AYP Plus shows. This month we're just covering lighting, and our last show is with Peter Hurley, who's a fantastic portrait and headshot photographer, and he was talking about catch lights. You know, you want to catch lights always work to bring out that sparkle in the person's eye, and that's a good job with window light. You've got a window behind this little girl. She's looking at you. She's not threatened by you at all. You're kind of making it, you know, easy for her to be around you, which is great. Peter also made that point. Like, if you're confident, your subject's going to feel confident. If you're nervous, they're going to be nervous, you know. So you put her at ease. You can see that. And those are all these things that come out of this photograph. So good job, Jared.
All right.
And yes, it is cute also.
This is from Saad, part of his series of rebuilding Mosul.
Oh, yes. So we saw the other one the other day. Now, this is more like what I was looking for. It's a story about the trains, but it's got a person in it. And, you know, there is a gesture going on between the guy and the cat. And the cat's tail, that adds a lot of interest to this photograph. And we've got, yeah, the cat's tail kind of curving up, and then we've got a lot of geometry here. Geometry always works well. Yeah, you've got geometric shapes everywhere. You've got leading lines of the railroads. You know, there's rectangles, there's angles. And he's framed, you've done a really good job, Saeed, of framing him right on the against the concrete. So it's not like he would get lost if you had him a couple of, you know, 6 inches over. Part of him would get lost in this edge of the railroad track, but you framed him perfectly. And that was a good job. You had to pick that position in that moment. And the dark clouds, it all works. It works really well. It's a very wide angle too, which, you know, you've done something that Bob Holmes talks about, which is using a wide angle lens but getting up relatively close to your subject, which gives a, you know, pretty intimate feel. So good one. Excellent.
All right.
Pick up a couple of more.
This one's our friend Sandy from India. No caption.
Well, Sandy, it's always good to see your work. You know, black and white, rickshaw, the motion. You know, you framed it well. You know, this guy is the center of interest. He has his foot up. You know, so we can see the motion. His feet are separated. You've used a long exposure, so we've got motion there. Interesting, because his upper body, it's moving, but not as much as you can see his feet are moving. So that kind of adds a point of interest there. And then, you know, we get to see this kind of setting of this village or town in India. Good job. Black and white works really well with this also. Cool.
All right. Speaking of Spaz, here's his photo. This was, I'm not going to try pronouncing that, but in English it's translated to the Maiden Rock, is a rock formation that I went to that I wanted to incorporate into a star trail shot for quite a bit of time, but never had the chance. Last week, though, with the moon almost at its fullest and the sky crystal clear, I decided to literally hike all the way up just above a town just to make the shot happen, and he's pretty happy with the results.
Very good, and I love hearing the effort you put into it. I mean, really, that's well done. You guys are all doing this, but it's just good to keep in mind that photography isn't about this, you know, this instant thing where all of a sudden there's a photograph. You know, you had to go find this photograph. You knew, you visualized it, you wanted to go to this spot, you visualized it with the star trails, and you came home with what you had visualized. So excellent. And the brown, there's enough light here to capture the rock in pretty great detail, which is pretty amazing. So that's moonlight that's causing that to happen. And that wouldn't happen if there were no full moon. It would just be a silhouette, which could be interesting too, but you capture the color and the shape of the rock in addition to that incredible star trail. I love that. That's a really long exposure. I would be curious to see how long that was. So good job, and good job on having that vision and going out and getting it. That is what it's all about. That's the AYP method. It's just, remember, there's 5 steps to photography, and the first one is visualization that carries you through the entire process. Okay, let's do a couple more before we end.
All right. This one's from Ellen, part of a series that she's kind of doing, documenting the anniversary of San Francisco Bay Area shelter in place.
We were just talking about that.
Yep, exactly. And this one was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this one was given the title Craft Beer.
Okay. Well, I like the way you have this guy, you have people situated really well in the frame because they're not being blocked by the tree. The guy on the left is walking into the tree, and just his edge of his frame is right on the edge of that tree. And then the guy walking out of the tree carrying a couple of pizzas, it looks like. Beer and pizza. And then the guy standing there is in his own frame. It's very well timed, so that was a good job as far as your timing and framing, because you have a lot of different frames within a frame. You got the guy on the left, you've got the 2 guys kind of in that center frame, and then the kind of the overall frame. So good job. And yes, 1 year ago we went into this thing thinking it was only going to be a matter of weeks. Who knew? So it's good. I hope you guys are all coming out of it. It really does feel like we're coming out of it. I've had my first vaccination. I'm going to get my next one next week, so definitely feels different.
Definitely. All right. The next one is Mache, another sort of product shot they were experimenting with, making a product shot and showing the gets progressively.
Yeah.
There's a gradient there.
Uh-huh.
For how much has been drunk.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. My tiny little thing is I feel like not cutting off the very top of those bottles might help a little bit, but it's just a very tiny thing. I don't know if you cropped it down, if you could uncrop it a little bit, or that's just the way you cropped it in the camera. It's just an aesthetic thing. It's just because it's your call. You framed it, but sometimes we cut off top person's head or their arm or whatever, and that can help the composition, and sometimes it doesn't. So I don't know. I would just be curious if that could be uncropped a little bit. Give it a little more breathing room, I guess, is what I'm saying. But I love the colors. The lighting on that is really cool. Very, very. It looks like just coming in through that window on the left. Good one. All right, Jared, let's take maybe 2 more, and then we'll call it a day.
This one is from Pablo, and the title that he put with it was "We Are All in Search of Freedom." This was taken with his Fuji X-E3 f11 1/1000th of a second, ISO 200, and manual focus.
ISO 200. Wow, I love it. I love you got this bird in the middle of this triangular cloud shape with a lot of amazing light hitting the clouds, and the bird is obviously the punctuation point. Without it, it would be interesting, but it wouldn't really be a complete photograph because there would be no clear subject. So we have a subject here, and that is the bird. You know, finding freedom is a good metaphor because here's all this darkness and clouds, and in the middle of it there's this one sunny spot and what looks like open sky. So good, that works really well. Good job. Last one.
All right. Last one. This is from William Homeworth. Says, I'm very critical of my work, as most of us are, but this is a photo I'm really proud of doing and happy to look at. Very much in the romantism style, which I am fond of. What do you guys think of this photo?
The romantism?
Yeah, I should have looked that up. I'll look it up and see.
Okay.
Maybe that's like a painting thing.
Anyway, I do like this. I feel like it could be much stronger as a black and white because there isn't really a lot of color. I mean, there's a little blue, but I feel like it could really pop. I would like you to try that, especially if you use Silver Effects Pro. I think it could be just really make those clouds and the mountain pop out. That's just my first thought. Because my call on color versus black and white is if there isn't any dominant color, if there's not any real reason for the color, I will go black and white. And I feel like you'd have a really classic black and white photo there. You've got rid of a mountain, and that's what we're looking at. This is a mountain portrait. So if you don't mind, maybe you could just post a version of that on the AYP Club, and let's just have a look at it there. I'd like to see that. But good job. Well, thank you guys. It's always a pleasure to see your work. It really is. I am delighted with the talent that I'm seeing here, and I hope I've been able to help you in some small way get there. And that is why I call it advancing your photography. I'm trying to continually advance and help people advance, and that's really my purpose as an author and as an educator is really to help people move to the next level and give them tools that work, not just stuff. It's easy to get onto a thing about the latest gear and you got to have this new software and all this kind of stuff, but it's much more important to understand the fundamentals of art and what you're doing with that camera, because every great photographer I've interviewed, they really don't talk about their equipment very much. And they use a variety. They use it. Bob Holmes, shoots with his iPhone. He shoots with a Nikon. He shoots with Sony and whatever. You could hand him any camera, and he's going to come back with great photographs. It is not about the camera. It's about who's behind the camera, which is you and me. Okay? Just remember that. Super important. Okay, thank you guys again for joining us.
And speaking of which, if you want to help improve where you are behind the camera, we are currently doing a sale.
That's right.
For our spring. It'll be going until Tuesday. But as you can see, you can get a real good discount on our courses. So definitely check that out. I'm putting a link in the chat.
Like you can get Bob Holmes' course. This is a 2-day course that we shot with him on assignment. It's normally $400. You can get it for $97. That's a giveaway. And there's so much data in there from our friend Bob Holmes. My new course, Advancing Your Photography, which we're just finishing, same deal, $400 normally, $97. And you can even get a whole package of all these courses together. So that's another way you can really help me, help you, help yourself. Everybody wins on that one. It really is a great thing. So yes, please take advantage of that. And I didn't say this before, but I'll say it now. Make sure you do subscribe and enable the bell, because YouTube will notify you of our new stuff that's coming up. We are going to be doing a lot more. We kind of let our YouTube channel drift for a while. We're going to get back into it and energize it, do some more interviews, me out photographing. You're going to see a lot more stuff coming up in the next few weeks. So thank you guys again for joining me. It does me a world of good. I hope it does you a world of good. It's, gotten us through this period, right? That was my original thing where I started this YouTube Live a year ago because I could see we needed something to get us out of the negativity. And creativity is the antidote for negativity. They both end the same way with an ivity at the end, but it's creativity is what pulls you out of that. Just remember that whenever things get gloomy, go and create something. Your photograph or something you write or a drawing or whatever. Even creating your own little studio is a creative act. Getting your work out to the world, that's creativity. Okay. Thank you guys.
All right.
Jared, have I forgotten anything?
I think our only thing is we got to give away a free month of AYP Plus.
Yeah, let's do that.
And I've done the drawing, and our winner for this week is Robin Mitchell. So congratulations, Robin. We've really enjoyed seeing your work. So hopefully you'll be able to join us for some of those live shows. If not, you can check out the recordings. And I will message you on Facebook a little bit later today to let you know how you can collect your free month of AYP Plus.
Well done, Robin. Okay, cool. So tell your friends, you guys. Bring more people to these live broadcasts, okay? Do the subscribe, enable the bell, but also tell your buddies, hey, you guys ought to get in there and see what's going on there at the AYP Critique Show. Okay, well, listen. I got to run. We got a lot of stuff. We got to finish up this editing. I got to do a few things around here. So thank you guys again. And remember, say it along with me. Remember to get out and capture your own images of life. Love you guys. Stay well, stay safe, stay creative, and we'll see you again soon.